Hey everybody, this is Josh, and I said I would make a video detailing the new Major League Gaming events for 2011. So here we go. We're going to start with the prize money. There is first through 8th place for the typical Major League Gaming StarCraft 2 tournament, and these are the prizes for the National Championship event at the end of the year. And seeding for that championship event will be based on all of the normal events throughout the year. So you want to do good at all the MLGs, not just to get money, but so that you can get seeded for a chance at like 10 times the money at the end of the year. And next we have the schedule. Here is the schedule. We've got Dallas, Texas up first in just about a week or so, Columbus, Ohio after that, Anaheim, California, our first West Coast location for MLG since 2009, I believe, and Raleigh, North Carolina coming up next. That was the first MLG that I actually went to last year, was in Raleigh, North Carolina, and that was actually one of the most fun as well, although there weren't that many viewers. But Orlando, Florida, coming up in October, and the national champion event is taking place in the smallest state in the country. It is Providence, Rhode Island, and that is where all the money will be made for our very, very best StarCraft 2 players. Next, we have the map pool. Here it is. We have MLG Metalopolis, Scrap Station, Shakuras Plateau, Shattered Temple, Xel'Naga Caverns, Icy Cup Test Bug, and Crossfire SE. They have altered the maps so that you cannot pylon or supply depot block your opponent into their base completely. They will always be able to get at least a Zergling or a drone or something like that out of their base at the bottom of those very small ramps. So MLG has taken it upon themselves to alter the maps in that way. Also, on Metalopolis, close running positions are no longer possible. On Shakuras Plateau, only cross positions are possible, so they've effectively made it a two-player map. Shattered Temple, they altered a platform in the middle of the map that was abusable by Blinkstalkers, and they didn't want that showing up in their tournament, so they changed it. Xel'Naga Caverns, nothing's changed except for the blocking thing that I talked about with the pylons and supply depots and things. Test Bug, probably a map not many of you are familiar with. It is a 3-player map with some cool terrain, and Crossfire SE was borrowed from GSL. Crossfire actually is in the Blizzard official map pack from when the game first came out, but the special edition for GSL had a tiny little change as well, and MLG has adopted it for their use as well. So that's all the maps. There's only 7 of them, and now let's talk about the actual competition format. And it is very complex, I'm not going to lie. It's essentially 3 tournaments in one, and I'm going to keep this very basic. So the first part of the tournament, we have 256 players in an open-style double elimination tournament that's twice as big as the national championships from last year. So it is a lot of players, don't get me wrong, and it is double elimination, so that is a lot of games. Now, once we have 12 players remaining from the open tournament, we have 4 winners bracket folks left and 8 people left in the losers bracket. Then the tournament changes. So that changes into group play and seeding into another bracket. The group play will have 4 groups, A, B, C, and D. They'll have 5 players each. They'll start with 4 players each, and those will be the top 16 seeds from last year, and these are the top 16 seeds from last year here on your screen, so you can take a look at them. I know that some players like Huck and TT1 and Jinro will not be playing. I already know this for a fact because they are going to South Korea to play in the GOM TV World Championships instead. But this will cause a shift. Obviously, some players below the top 16 threshold will now move up into the group play for Dallas, and we'll see how that actually is going to look a little bit later on. Who actually will move up and things like that. And you know, there might be more players in the top 16 who don't show up. Natagast and AJTLS, for example, have been rumored that they're not going to be able to go. And yeah, so group play. Each 4 groups will have 4 players from those top 16 and one of the winners bracket from the open tournament. So let's say, I don't know, Bob, Jim, Tom, and Harry. Why did I pick those names? They come in from the open bracket, and one of them will go into each of those 4 groups with the top 16 players from last year. So the winner of the groups, every player in each group will have to play every other player in their group, and the winner, the player with the best bracket, or the best results, I should say, will go into a new winners bracket. And depending on the ranking inside those groups, the remaining players will be seeded into a lower bracket. So not winning your group basically equates into losing your first best of 3 in a double elimination tournament. So after you've been seeded in the lower bracket, after group play, you only get one chance. Basically, if you lose that BO3, then you're out of the tournament. So that's essentially how it works. I'm going to keep it very basic because I tried explaining this before and I didn't do a very good job of it. So basically, one big open tournament, a bunch of group play, and then a smaller bracket at the very end determining who our champion is. And based on where you place in these first regular tournaments will determine where you're seated in the national championship at the end of the year. So everyone wants to do their absolute best. One result of this format change, of course, is that players entering the open tournament will be playing more games than ever before. They could potentially be playing up to 20 or more best of 3 games, best of 3 series throughout a 2.5-day weekend. That's like Friday evening, all day Saturday, and most of the day Sunday, if not all day Sunday. So they're going to have way more players, way more games. It's going to be very interesting to see how they actually fit all the games into the schedule, especially since in previous years we've had problems with Battle.net, and we've had problems with players not being at their stations in time. We've had hardware difficulties, things like that. So it is going to be a huge, huge undertaking. I hope that everything goes smoothly, of course, but it looks so completely different from last year. I hope that they're able to get it done correctly. And another thing that's changed for this year is players wanting to get into the open tournament can actually do online qualifiers and try and get themselves a little bit better seeding in the open tournament. And that's sort of a different issue altogether. It's sort of a ladder system online, and I know a few players have been going for it, but the incentives don't really seem all that much. I mean, it's going to be a huge task to try and get through the open tournament anyway, so getting a seed for the first round isn't really super amazing, especially if some of the better players that come in unseeded don't do the ladder ranking. Then you're still potentially facing the best players in the open tournament, whether you did the online ladder or not. But yeah, I'm going to be at MLG Dallas working with Complexity Gaming at complexitygaming.com. I'm going to be hanging out with their players and doing interviews and behind the scenes footage and all that sort of wonderful stuff. And of course, I will be getting a bunch of footage here for Ask Joshi as well. I hope that you guys will pay lots of attention to the channel during MLG, because that is probably the most fun that I have with StarCraft 2 anymore, is going to these live events and hanging out with the players, watching the games on the big screen, being a part of a live audience and stuff like that. It's just really, really cool. So if you've never been to an MLG event, hopefully you can make it out to one of these this year, and I'll see you there because I'm going to all of them. And I think that's everything that I wanted to say. There's still a bunch more stuff that I have to work on before MLG Dallas gets here on April 1st. But yeah, hopefully that explanation cleared up some stuff for some of you guys who haven't really been paying attention to it in the past, and I'll get back to casting some more games for you guys. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.